The key issue for me around my experience in primary care was the fact that I lost trust with the service. And I lost trust because I felt that the service I was getting was not appropriate. I was at a private party, and a white man came and firebombed the place. And in the ensuing kind of chaos that followed, a young mother lost her life. I got severely burned together with others, and many of us were kind of traumatized for very long periods of time. I was hospitalized for about a week, and then within a week after that, I wanted to get straight back into work, just forget about it all, you know. My life then, I realized, had transformed into something that I couldn't even recognize myself. First of all, I drank myself into stupors to try to forget and blank out some of the nightmares I was having and experiencing at the time. The main part of the support packages that was on offer were starting to centre around that alcohol misuse. And while it made sense for them, it didn't for me. I would say my health was not being looked after. My health was being fragmented. From a victim of an arson attack who was traumatised and needed help, I ended up feeling like an alcoholic who doesn't want to engage with the service and could potentially explode any minute, and there's a danger to potentially himself or others. That was a big difference to how I perceive myself and how others perceive me. And that was mainly done in primary care. All I knew was I was asking for help, and this was the help I was getting. It felt so inappropriate. It was centered around misdiagnosis and preconceptions. I would say, to make matters worse, when you are told you are something for long enough, there's a grave danger that you start to believe it. I wouldn't go to my GP first. I'd seek other options before I go to a GP.
What I need from primary care is some continuous support with my condition, because I can get on and live my daily life and go to work and have a full-time job. Secondary mental health services don't always feel that it's most appropriate for them to deal with me. When I first started to see my current GPs, it was a kind of, when I went in for a consultation, they took time to listen to me and time for me to say what was the problem. If I was in a depressive episode, what were the problems and how was that affecting my life. They have also offered me kind of routine follow-up appointments when I haven't been well, so to know that I've got an appointment the next day or in 2 days' time, so that they are constantly managing my mood or constantly monitoring my mood, which has been kind of a huge support. As I then have come out of episodes, they've also offered me appointments and support to do some planning, to plan how we can prevent the next crisis, and how and also so that they can get to know me as a person when I'm well, so that they've got some extra markers to go on, to things to talk to me about, to encourage me when I'm depressed. Yeah. They will engage with me as a person, talk to me as a human being. They know about me, they know about my life. Even the receptionist was kind of engaging with me, and I find it quite reassuring when I go to the practice that receptionists do know who I am and do know my name and do know that if I say that I need an emergency appointment for my mental health, that they can respond to that, and they might not be able to respond by getting me an emergency appointment because there might not be any left, but they might be able to respond by offering me a telephone appointment instead. I kind of was struck last summer when I was in a severe depressive episode and I went to the surgery and I saw on my electronic notes that they were calling me up for a smear test, and I kind of was a bit I was like, oh, I'm not feeling well enough to do that at the moment. And actually asked the GP about it. I said, oh, I can see that flashing on my electronic notes. Not, and they said, you don't need to worry about it at the moment. It's really, we need to get you mentally well. And then 6 to 9 months later, they said to me, actually, now that you're well, we need to talk to you about having a smear test done. Are you okay to get it done? Yeah, fine. No, I can do it now. I'm feeling well enough to do it. It did show that they could treat me as a whole person, and that they could, that they did come back to it and ask me when I was ready, rather than just ignoring it and saying, Shannon's never going to be well enough to do this. They actually came back and talked to me when I was ready. So just knowing that there's the little things that they can do, which are kind of make my crisis and make my depression just a little bit more manageable in the here and now when it's happening.
It's not just about treating everybody the same. To get equal treatment, you actually sometimes need to treat people a bit differently. You may need to say you need a slightly longer appointment, or you need a slightly different arrangement for making an appointment, or whatever it is. It's about being sensitive to their individual requirements. And that is, of course, simply fulfilling the requirements of the law, the Disability Discrimination Act, which says that you do sometimes have to treat people differently. You have to make some adjustments so that people get an equal service.
If people, for example, have difficulties waiting in a crowded waiting room, and quite a few people do, particularly with anxiety disorders, then that's fine. They can wait in the garden and we'll call them through.
Flexibility works for everybody, and actually getting it right for people with the biggest access needs is likely to improve the practice for everybody.
If people have learning disabilities and they want to register, they have trouble filling in the forms, then that's fine. We'll sit down and we'll go through the forms and fill it in with them.
It's about changing the system, but it's about small changes to the system.
If people need long appointments, we'll give them double appointments. If people find it easier to come first thing in the morning, we'll do that. It's about trying to find out what people's needs are and just sort of matching them to what we can provide.
It's tweaking the system. It's not some massive new set of priorities. It is actually about making sure that the service really works for the people with the greatest health need.